late than never, they say. We do apologise for the slightly tardy beginning this morning. However, there's always a first time. And isn't it interesting, as I introduce my regular guest, Marney Perna, I'm sort of leaping ahead to making a comment before I actually invite people, to come to Angel Heart Radio Facebook page so they can join us in this conversation. And also to remind everybody that you should never use these shows for legal, medical, nor professional advice, nor your own sound judgment. Now, Marney.
Yes. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning indeed. And isn't it interesting how when we think we're organised, sometimes the rug can be taken right from under us. And so what an interesting way to start our show today, given that our topic is, what is your joyometer? No, we always take our temperature if we think that our body's not as healthy as it could be. It's one of the first things we do, isn't it? If we're feeling unwell, we take our temperature as a check. How often do we think about our joyometer? Now, this word came up last week on this very show when Kiara Sharp was with me. And I went, oh, what a great topic.
Mm.
Yes. Do we think about our joyometer? Or do we simply get off like this? Yes, especially when we're tested, that can we can lose track of it. Do we check in, is what I'm trying to say. No, we check in with a thermometer if we feel we're unwell. Oh, how often do we check our joyometer?
I actually get my clients to check their joyometer regularly because I believe that joy and happiness is our reason for being. And if we aren't finding joy, well, then we're a bit lost and we're a bit there's things happening behind the scenes. So joy and happiness is our number one reason for being here.
I love it. I love it. However, I guess, speaking of your clients, it would be something that you would probably have to mention regularly.
You do. A lot of people lose joy and happiness, and that's when disease and disease comes into being, because the joy, like when you're stress bucket. So we all know about my Henry and Deliza. Okay, so Deliza is very connected to our joyometer. So Deliza is our thymus. It's our immune response. It's our get up and go. It's our enthusiasm, right? And she sits. I'll just move the screen a little bit to show you. So she sits right here in the heart region, right? So just in the middle of the chest. And behind that is the thymus area. Now, your thymus is your center of immune response. So when your joy and happiness, or your heart, is not feeling happy or joyful, the thymus also is a bit under stress, and it doesn't work as well. So then your immune response is not as good either. So that's where the disease and unhappiness comes into as well.
Right, yes, because I'm a great believer that our emotions and disease are tied in incredibly.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. And look, when a client or when someone is really, really stressed and Henry is really, really full, you lose your potential or your capacity to look for positives because you get weighed down. So if you can imagine, your whole energy falls to the ground. What you need is Deliza's energy up lighter and higher to be able to come up with solutions or just one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. So when your joy is down, the non-joy part of it takes over, and it's a heavier weight in universal weight. So sadness, depression, anger, all of those negative experiences actually have a higher weighting on the weighting scale of emotions than the positive ones. So sometimes we need to do extra positive things to combat or to or to rebalance our our thermometer or our joyometer.
And that becomes a vicious circle, because so often if we are feeling down, the last thing we feel like doing is something lighter. No,
Absolutely.
it's like that.
And that's why I get my, so I know I'm talking about clients, but I do it in my personal life as well. I have an A4 page, and it's my A4 top 10 things that make me smile or feel joy. Right now, you can add these. Is very it's very personal, it's very independent. What you have on yours, other people won't have on theirs, although you may have common things. But you've got to come up with 10 things when you're feeling good and joyful. Come up with 10 things in your life that you know either make you smile, or you know if you do it, it will make you feel happy. Right? And they're very basic things. They're not complicated things. It's one of them is your feel good food. Now, feel-good food is generally not kale chips. Okay? As much as a lot of gurus tell you they're good for you, they're not connected usually to your joy and happiness thermometer.
Right.
Your favorite or your feel-good food is the food you were fed as a child that nurtured you. Okay, because you were feeling sick. So mum took your temperature and put a hand on the front of your head, and then what would you like to eat? So what did you eat back then that you could eat regardless of how you were feeling? That's your feel-good food. All right. Now, personally, mine was tin tomato soup and Vegemite soldiers.
Right.
And I can still eat that now when I'm feeling unwell, or the thought of eating that makes me smile and go, oh, yeah, wow. And I can taste it in my mouth. Now, it was just tin tomato soup. It was nothing extra special. But what food did you get that nurtured you? Now, it may have been, if you didn't have a childhood, that you've got the memories or the good memories of that kind of food nurturing. As an adult, is there a one food that you can think of that makes you smile when you think of it? Have you got one, Annette?
Yes, but see, because I would tend to go for ice cream.
Well, there you go. Ice cream it is.
Yeah.
So on your 10-page self-help thing, you would have a container of ice cream or a sundae, an ice cream sundae or something on there.
Right.
All right. So you would know if you're feeling a bit low and you're needing to pick yourself up, that having some ice cream, or the thought of having some ice cream, is that baby step starting to look for positives.
Right. See, what comes to my mind, Marnie, is the opposite, because comfort food I need to look at when I go for, when I go for chocolate. Now, there's a difference between going for chocolate because I'd like to eat one square and enjoy and savor it, and going to a whole block or a whole bag, whatever.
Yeah, because then you'll feel sick. But this is not, it's not just about comfort food. It's about feeling nurtured and safe.
Right.
Okay, so the connection to your food that you were given as a child, and I use the child example because we don't always use it a lot when we're adults, or look at your own children. What food did your own children like if they were feeling unwell? Because children are little individuals, right? And not everyone will have the same thing. Like, I had one son that he would eat a green apple. If he felt unwell, he could always eat a green apple. My daughter could always eat egg noodles, just plain egg noodles, boiled egg noodles with a bit of cheese over the top. All right. The other one liked chicken noodle soup. So they each had something that if they weren't feeling 100%, they would usually enjoy having that one piece of food.
Right.
It was kind of their pick-me-up food. It wasn't just comfort food.
No.
It was a nurturing food.
To me, there's a difference. I've gone off track because I think if I'm going for the kind of, now I say it's comfort food, but it's when I do that, I really need to look at, okay, why am I doing this? Because I know that in other situations I don't need it.
No, but we're talking about your joy and happiness is run down and Henry is high. So if you don't want Henry to overflow, you've got to know at least 10 things that you can start to do, or that you know if you do it, it would make you start to feel better. So that's why I have my 10 points. Now, one of them is, where do you prefer, the beach or the nature? Right? Or is your comfort place laying in bed under your doona? There's no right or wrong in these things. They're just things that if you do that and you're feeling low, that it helps to lift your life energy. Okay, so and if your beach is your favorite place and you can't get to the beach, Google pictures of the beach. Get on your phone or get on your computer and look at seascapes or something like that, because the energy of that memory starts to lift you. Okay, rescue remedy. I generally tell everyone to put rescue remedy or a form of that on their 10 points to de-stress. Rescue remedy, I know it's a branded product, but it brings you back to center. Right, it's a product that's its design is to de-stress you and bring you back to calm. So what product have you got that brings you back to calm? It could be an essential oil, right? A lot of people go to lavender. A lot of people go to, I've got a beautiful one called white angelica. You know, it brings you back. It gives you that sense of protection and comfort. I've got another one called joy, which is a combination oil, which resonates the magnetic attraction of joy and happiness. So what oil is your favorite if you don't have a product that you might take? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do.
I get them to put a phone on there. So phone a friend. Do I need to phone a friend, or do I need to find a practitioner, or do I need to phone my doctor? Because sometimes you need to do that because you need to take next steps. When you get to overwhelm, you can't always come up with these solutions. So if you've got 10 points on your piece of paper, looking at those 10 points, one of them will show up. Your eye will be attracted to one of them. Yes. And it's your body saying subconsciously, that's what you need to start with. Get your joyometer working again. That will give you joy. Pat your favorite pet, or get your photos out and immerse yourself in memories of fun times. You know, you're being directed. You're being given, this piece of paper is just like a cheat sheet. It's just reminding you, because remember, your Henry is getting fuller. The fuller he gets, you'll lose that capacity to creatively think. So sometimes we need help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that making sense to you?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me, because I know we've mentioned the 10-point page before. With lots of things in life, Marnie, we do need the reminders.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes as you say, the simplest things, and especially when we're feeling stressed or down, yes, we don't think. We're sort of on edge and shaking. And
I know I created that tincture, the Connectly for You tincture, and a lot of people call that money in a pocket, right? Because they look at that and they go, oh, money will know what to do. So they might ring me, or it reminds them to make an appointment because they're starting to feel overwhelmed. Right. Because when you're in high stress levels, your joyometer is not working. You need to kickstart it. You need to remind it to find joy and happiness. Right. And it's a choice as well, Annette, to feel joy. You can have the most miserable day, but you can still choose to look for something that will give you joy.
Yes.
It needn't be a big thing.
No. And also, it can be how we look at something.
Absolutely.
So we were saying this morning how things don't always go to plan. Sometimes it's our expectations. Really? Way. It's like, this is going to happen. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, what do I do? Belinda Brown, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful. How lovely that you can put on an extra layer.
Absolutely.
We're very fortunate when we can either put on or take off or whatever.
Adjust.
Yes. People down here in Melbourne, of course, are going, oh, it's a cold winter.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, it's an opportunity to put on warmer clothes. How grateful am I that I have a choice, choice of coats, choice of clothes. The sun shining, how wonderful. And I notice, Marnie, on days when the sun is hidden behind clouds, that I've come now to when I see the sun shining, it's like, oh, wow.
You're back.
Thank you.
Yeah. And look, that's another thing that can affect people's joy and happiness is weather. So weather can have because there's an actual force behind weather as well, like negative and positive ions happen. So when there's a storm brewing, a lot of people get anxious, right? When the storm breaks, it kind of releases negative ions, which is positive for health and wellness, right? But you've got to get to that crescendo and then get to the other side. So there'll be a lot of people that do get affected by weather. Now, weather also will flick a memory trigger. So if there was a negative experience with a weather calamity, that a similar kind of situation happening again will get the little brain going, oh my God, I've got a file on that. I've got to open that file, and that file said danger. So you need to be able to give the file a second solution. So yes, it did mean danger. It means I need to be aware. So for the example for that is like bushfire season. So you get that dry wind and you get the searing temperatures and stuff. So you need to be aware of your situation and stuff. But you also need to be able to say, yep, I'm prepared, but it's okay. I'll just, be okay with that, rather than letting that take over your joy and happiness.
Right. And that can be in any situation, can't it? If we're repeating a pattern, and quite often I find a pattern is repeated because I haven't got what I'm meant to be getting out of that situation.
Well, you haven't found your solutions yet for the next time that shows up.
Right.
So just remember, each time that pattern turns up, you gain another insight. Right. Now, eventually those insights, think of them as pearls of wisdom. Eventually those pearls will be enough to string a pearl necklace or a bracelet or something, which means that it's got a closure. You can string them on something and close it, so you're closing the circle.
Right.
But each time it might happen, you gain another insight because you're a bit older, you're a bit wiser, or you've just got another piece of information that helps you to have a different solution or a different outcome.
Right.
It's just another way of looking at it.
Sure. Yeah. And that's important, because sometimes, if we're looking at something in the same way all the time, we're quite often dealing with it in the same way.
Like if you don't change something, you'll get the same result.
Yes. Yeah. I'm into jigsaws at the moment.
Ooh, good. And I hope all the pieces are there.
Sorry?
I hope all the pieces are there.
They are, but I find that I can sit and it's the same with if I'm doing Sudoku or something. Sometimes I have to walk away and
come
pick
back.
It up later, because my thinking is simply one-dimensional, if you like. I haven't looked in a different. I laugh because sometimes I can be looking at a piece in the jigsaw and it won't go in, and yet then I'll come back and all of a sudden pick it up and it just goes exactly where it's meant to be.
I love it when there's a communal jigsaw and there's someone's house and you go there and everyone that goes, oh, I can see that piece, and they put it in. And, I've looked forever for that piece.
An analogy for life. We need community.
Yeah. Another analogy I sometimes use is tapestry. So think of a tapestry. A tapestry has a start and a finish, but a tapestry generally has a pattern on it, right? So if you're standing back a fair way from that tapestry, you will see the picture, even though the workings haven't been done.
Right.
When you go closer, you see that you haven't done certain areas, but the overall big picture is complete. It's just not stitched. So life is a bit like that as well. Sometimes you've got to go back and go, oh, I missed that piece. I better work on that piece now. Right.
Yeah. So now, Belinda's contributing to our show, which is fantastic. Thank you, Belinda. Belinda's saying when the sun isn't shining, she feels glum and her energy is very low when she is cold. And that's where the gratitude for me comes in, because, yes, I can feel cold. How wonderful that I'm able to do something about it, that I can wrap myself in a blanket or switch on the heater or curl up in bed with lovely warmth.
Absolutely, yeah. So the other thing, Belinda, is to have some pictures of beautiful sunny days around, like even just little ones, and have them on your the screensaver sometimes on your phone or your computer. So you get those lovely, when you first turn on your computer, if you've got like not an Apple, I don't know what the Apple ones do, but you get the nice screens You know, they have these random ones show up all the time, and some of them are just fabulous. Others you go, eh. But there's so many that just are beautiful. So,
yes.
you know, use the tools at your disposal to help yourself feel better. Because if you're starting to get your full stress bucket and your thymus and your joy is not working as well, feeling glum is adding to that. So what do you need to open that up? What do you need to make a change to start making you feel better? And memories can help, and pictures can help. You know, so what can you do?
Marnie, you've mentioned Henry quite a bit today, and I'd like to mention your book, because Henry appears or stars in your book.
I've got one somewhere. It's missing. Yeah.
As does the idea of the 10 things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
Along with lots of other ideas. So especially if people have joined us for the first time today, welcome, welcome, welcome. And why not explore Marnie's fantastic website? And I know you're available on Facebook as well, Marnie.
Yeah.
It's quite a while since I've given out your website, and it's like, oh, well, I know it's Kinique, KINIQUE.com. Boom, boom. Very simple, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And my book is Creating Calm Amid Chaos. Again, very simple. So.
Well, it is. And what I like about the book, yes, it's a good read from cover to cover, but it's such a tool to have and I can go down the index, the contents, and go, okay, yes, now what is it that I specifically need to
know? Yeah.
And if I don't want to go through the table of contents, I can simply hold the book. This is an idea.
Just open it.
Yes, Rosemary suggests, you know, we hold the book and ask our question, and voila.
It's good. I've had a few people request it recently, so I've sent it off to different places in Australia for people experiencing a bit of overwhelm and stress.
Right.
But sometimes it's about they don't realise, like if they haven't had kinesiology or they're not as in tune to what's going on, they may not realise what they're feeling is normal, and you can do something about it. So,
well, I think that's one of the things that we like to do here on Angel Heart Radio, is to share with people that there is always help, whether it be on the physical level or the emotional or etherical level. No, we can reach out. We reach out to fellow humans, whether they be friends, whether they be practitioners like yourself. We're so fortunate today that we have technology as well. So we're not confined to our own local area.
And look, just Googling, Mr. Google's pretty good. He finds things pretty easily. And if you haven't tried, like sometimes you may have, like when you're unwell, you end up going to a lot of different doctors or people trying to get help. So if you're not getting anywhere mainstream, we'll just start looking alternatively, because there'll be something there that will complement mainstream that's going on with you. Or a product will suddenly turn up. I mean, I have the most great fun on my screen, because all of a sudden this product will pop up and I go, oh, what's that about? And it's generally really good. And something a bit different. And I go, oh, wow, I needed to know that, or so-and-so needed to know that. So I'll let people know. And it's not always like, we know the machines are all listening to us, but sometimes it's not about what you've spoken about. Sometimes you've just been processing something and the universe says, here, try this.
So true. Now, Belinda is very fortunate, and she knows that she is, because she lives in the Sunshine State here in
Lovely. Me too, Belinda.
You do, Marnie. I think of the people who live in the UK and Iceland, and the areas where they're known for not getting as much sunshine as maybe we're very fortunate enough to have here. And so I hope that people who live in very cloudy areas that appear to have less sunshine have wonderful pictures on their walls, in their minds. We're fortunate. Our minds, we can transport ourselves anywhere we want to.
We can just do a virtual tour. You can also use subliminal messaging too, like, you know, have the word sunshine. You know how you can get those wooden words and stuff? So get the word sunshine done in wood and have that around, because even looking at that, your brain registers sunshine. Sunshine means melatonin and sun and feeling of warmth, and it starts that chain chemical reaction beneath.
Right, yes.
So, you know, we need to use all our tools.
We can. And the other is, I can remember a beautiful principal of mine when I first started teaching, would come into the classroom, and in those days, he didn't know what air conditioning was, let me tell you. And he would say, if you come in from play, children, and you're feeling hot, if you're saying I'm hot, well, that's the message that you're reinforcing. So I've used that ever since he first said it, because if I'm feeling cold, I tend to send, oh, well, I'm feeling warm. If I'm feeling hot, it's like, I'm feeling cool. It's amazing what our mind can do.
It's pretty clever.
Now, Belinda's just introduced a new word to me too, lounge chair travel.
Yes, perfect. Virtual lounge chair traveling is marvellous. Yeah. And a lot of that's happened during COVID times, because people haven't been able to travel. So they've been sharing photos of their favourite travels and things like that. So we're doing a lot of virtual tours, and we were using it as a women's organisation pre-COVID as well. We would often do a virtual trip to a particular area in the world for our friendship days and things like that. So you'd go along and people would make food that was from that area, or bring items of clothing that might be worn at that area and information, so that everyone got to understand the customs and the different things that happened in that region. And if we were really lucky and had a sister group that were in that area, we would phone in or link in with them and chat with them that way. And it became these virtual tours. So you got to know about places that if you weren't a traveller, you sort of got to know a little bit about it as well.
Right. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I mentioned Rosemary before, and Rosemary has been popping in towards the end of our shows. Well, I'm delighted to say that whilst we're missing Rosemary, she and her gorgeous husband, John, are taking a little break. And do you know, Marnie, it is the first time that Rosemary and John have had a holiday, in inverted commas, in several years, and they're going up to Nambour to the flower show. And like many people here in Australia at the moment, and I guess worldwide too, they were on, are we going, are we not? Because, of course, travelling interstate is something that we all took for granted. Travelling internationally, we took for granted. I'm going to go here.
I know, especially you. You are real travels. You flit all over the world.
That's exactly right. Yes. So Rosemary and John, I trust that they're going to have a wonderful, wonderful break, and because it's something that we all need. And yes, we're not able to travel as freely as we once did. That doesn't mean that we're unable to take time out and do something special for ourselves.
Just pretend you're a child and get the excitement going of the thought of travel, like make a cubby house or do something in your lounge room that creates a change. Like, why don't you go and do some, create a different place to sit by putting different photos out or different ornaments and things like that, and transport your room to where you would like to be at the moment.
Right.
Because your body goes, oh, wow, look at all these things. That reminds me of, and it starts that whole chain reaction again.
Because I was with a friend yesterday who loves collecting teapots amongst other things. And she said she also enjoys changing what she has out on show. And I thought, yes, what a great idea, to as you say, change our environment.
Your environment, yeah. It's really funny. A very old memory that pops up for me for that is Mum always had a habit of changing furniture. around in a room. And Dad came home. He was a shift worker, and he came home late one night, went to lay in the bed, and it had gone. Mum had moved it around and hadn't been up to tell him. He was not impressed at that time. He did laugh about it afterwards, but it was one of those things. He just, you know, in the dark, he didn't turn lights on. He'd just go and log down, and the bed wasn't there. So it changes the whole atmosphere.
It can, yes. Because our energy in our area, I know I'm one for clutter. And it's like, every so often, I know. It's a bit like the Henry bucket, I think. It's the clutter bucket. And it gets to a point where, right, yep, have to change this.
Yeah, the stress of a clutter bucket is huge. And so is having to deal with all the stuff that you're trying to offload if you're trying to offload things as well. So, which is, something we're going through at the moment. So, it's decluttering to a degree. And releasing. Yeah. Well, actually, you're revisiting memories as well. You're not just releasing stuff. You're actually going, oh, wow, I remember this, or that brings back memories of such and such. And remember, too, talking about our joyometer, joy and the resonance of joy is about 1,000 if you're talking megahertz. So we go from 0 to 1,000. So joy is up in 1,000. So is peace to a great degree. Rose oil is the highest oil that you can get to when you're looking at measurements. So you've got to look for things that raise your life energy. So depression, sadness, grief, all those kind of things sit below a certain level, and we need to bring our levels up so that they're usually above. I like people to be at least above 500, because below 500 you're sitting in certain degrees of anxiety and overwhelm.
Right.
So you need to find things that raise that physical energy, so that helps you to lift internally as well.
The thing is, Marnie, when we're feeling down, so often we're unable to see the top of the hole we're in, or
absolutely. That's where you need that 10-point plan. Because it's when you're feeling down, you can't be, you haven't got the energy to be creative. That's what we keep talking about. You need something that's on the back of the bathroom door. You don't need it out all the time, because you don't need the reminders all the time. But there's certainly nothing stopping you. If you know certain things make you smile or make you feel good, there's nothing stopping you having them out in your house or in your personal, like get your favourite outfit. If it's your, I don't know, your lounge chair tracking suit or whatever. If that gives you that fuzzy feeling, that comforting feeling, put it on. Even if you've got to put it on underneath something else, it doesn't matter. You know it's there. You know you're wearing it.
Yes. It's interesting how many people say when they come home at the end of the day, especially in the cooler weather, to get into the jams or the lounging. Get out of the more formal clothes, especially if we've been out to work or out to whatever.
We just need to feel relaxed and at peace. So
yes. Yeah. How often do we?
Is there another thing, Annette, that raise your joy and happiness? A bunch of flowers. Right. So if you're out shopping and you're feeling a bit low, treat yourself to a bunch of flowers. Woolies and Coles, Aldi, all those kind of places have really reasonably priced bunches of flowers. And what you'll find is you'll be drawn to a certain colour flower. Now, it might not always be the same colour, but when you go home, Google what that colour means, because colour has an energy as well. So what about that colour did you get drawn to? Like orange is joy and happiness, straight away. Pink is love and nurturing, right? Blue is just, some people get connected to blue because it's a feeling of communication and connection. So Google why you might have picked that colour. You know, burnt orange is all about, you know, doors of opportunity and things like that. So there might be something happening that is an opportunity for you to take hold of. And if you recognise that, you're open for it.
I love this time of the year because daffodils are such a happy flower, and they're usually very, very reasonably priced.
And yellow is sunshine. Yellow is just represents sunshine and happiness generally.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many things around you that you can use and do. And it's just, it's up to you to make that decision and to do it, because you're, in the end, the responsibility is yours to raise your own life energy. It's not another person's job to make you feel happy. You've got to, you know, work on your own happiness.
Well, the thing is, Marnie, it's not only up to us. We're the only ones who can feel for ourselves. Somebody else can put their arm around us and support us, comfort us. We're the ones who then has to change our own emotion or feelings.
It's totally your responsibility to lift yourself up, but you are given tools, you're given techniques, you're given help along the way. So it's up to you. In the end, the baby needs, he can't, a baby doesn't usually have their own happiness, but their joy and happiness is being hugged. So who can you hug? And if you can't hug a real person, hug yourself. You know, the way you hug yourself, you just put your arms right around it, just give yourself this great big squeezing hug.
I know.
What that does also, it squishes all your inside bits, so they're all getting a hug as well. All your organs inside are all getting hugged.
Well, and that's important too, because we can look good on the outside. What does our inside look like? And, you know, am I balanced? Is my inside the same as what I'm giving out on the outside? And that's really important, because... And
remember to, like, everyone has down days. So you don't need to be that happy person all the time, because if you're around people that aren't happy, they just want to knock your head off because they don't deal with that too well. So you've got to be truthful to the emotional things that are happening internally. So if you're feeling really down and you're saying, oh, but I'm happy, I'm really good, your body's going, oh, really? I thought I wasn't feeling good. So, you know, you're giving it confused messages. So you start to use language that's different. So instead of saying I feel really good, when your internal mechanism is saying, oh, I feel really bad, you have to sort of use words like I don't feel so good, right? Or I'm, you know, starting to feel better, things like that, so that your body's going, okay, so you're acknowledging how you're feeling, but you're putting things in place to move yourself forward. Because it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to tell people that things aren't going as well.
Yes, that's very important. And I know I don't mean to be sexist, but I know women find it a little easier to share than men. Men's sheds have been created in the last few years. They're so important because I think women, you know, men are usually, and more so in the past rather than now, because there are lots of more women in the regular workforce. However, women are very good at getting together and sharing, you know, over a lunch or whatever. We are, whereas men are in the workforce, they come home and so often can be their thoughts can be internalized rather than expressed.
So we can teach, you know, we can show men as well tips and techniques that they can use to take away some of the burden and overwhelm that they're feeling. And I'm pretty sure I would have shared what I call the namaste tree before. So it's a very old Chinese proverb that you can Google, the old builder and the gratitude tree or something like that. And it was the story goes, and don't quote me because it's not the exact story, because I tend to embellish a little bit, but there was an old builder that was building something for this younger man, and anything that could go wrong did go wrong on this particular day. So he wasn't having the best day, and then got in the truck to go home, and the battery was flat. So kind of, you know, his cup runneth over with depression. And so the younger guy said, look, can I give you a lift home? Which he gratefully accepted. And the journey home, the older man was full of, you know, anxiety and you know, what could go wrong, and really a unhappy person. So they get to the place's, the man's house, and the gentleman says, could I invite, as a thank you, would you like to come in for a cup of tea? Now, the last thing the young guy wanted to do was go and have a cup of tea with this very sad person, but he said yes. And just before the old man went into the house, he turned to this rather big bush at the front door, and he clasped his hands and he grabbed a couple of the leaves and bowed. And as he turned back, his whole energy had changed. He'd gone from feeling, shoulders forward and feeling sad and unhappy to shoulders back and showing a nicer persona to go in. So they went into the house, and he was quite happy with his family and everything. And the guy had his cup of tea, and they're walking out afterwards to the car. And he said, look, I just need to know what changed from the tree to going in the doors. And the old man said, well, my cares and worries are mine. They're not always my family's. So what I do is I hang them on the tree. And he said, sometimes I come out the next day and they're not there. They've gone. Other times they're still there and I take them with me. But he said, my family don't always need to know that. So I lift my energy to go into the house. And I just think what a great way of doing, like, what can you do to hang your worries and your cares somewhere else, so that you can pick up, because, the universe has a way of sometimes giving us solutions without us even being involved.
Yes.
So, get your own namaste tree, or get something that's a habit that you can implement that allows you to release some of your cares and burdens, so that joy and happiness can come to the fore again.
And he was doing himself a favour too by parking those concerns, because, yes, he didn't want to concern the family, but also he was taking that load off his own shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. His whole demeanour, changed. You can imagine, because when you're worried, your whole I'll do the whole thing. Your shoulders go forward. So what you do is when you're concerned or unhappy, you pull your shoulders forward, and it's sort of, you're protecting this region, right? But that also has the capacity of slowing down your breath. So you're scrunching everything up. What you need to do is pull your shoulders back, open your whole chest area and your heart chakra and everything there. But it also allows the throat area, which is your area of communication. You pull your shoulders back and lightly lift your chin. Suddenly you've got an open energy field that you can sort of start to feel better, and it'll just change how you feel, because you automatically get low energy by pulling your shoulders forward. Pull them back, right? And start to pull them back. And I add to that one the old, I don't know if you remember that really, really old thing that we used to get taught, like I must improve my bust. So where does I pull my shoulders back? I think of that and it makes me grin. So, use some of those memories, or those intrinsic and sort of latent memories to start to feel better.
Yes.
And it will change. You automatically change. You start to open yourself up. You generally take a deeper breath too, because suddenly you've released your diaphragm and everything out of constriction. And people will want to be around you, Annette. When you're like this, people run a mile. They don't want to know about it.
Yeah. Well, posture is a simple tool. How often do we sort of think about, oh, gee, how am I walking? How am I sitting? Am I open or am I closed? Oh, Belinda's saying it didn't work for her. I think she's talking about the bust. I can say the same
that didn't work
thing,
for me
Belinda.
either. It still makes me smile. So I can remember being very disappointed. The only time I had a cleavage was when I was had children and was breastfeeding, and then I couldn't fit into anything, so it didn't help at all.
I agree.
But you can still smile at the memories. Yeah, and no one else knows why you're smiling, so they'll just, smiling and laughing is they have something called a mirror neuron, and the mirror neuron is the other person will smile or laugh as well. A bit like yawning. Yawning has a mirror neuron as well.
Doesn't it?
The first one that yawns, and you can even see people yawning behind a mask. It's so funny. And they go, how do you know? And you go, well, you just know. You know the feeling.
I think one of the best things to come out at times is the laughter classes. There are laughter groups. I know I did that in an exercise with a yoga class once, actually laughing. And people can be inhibited to start with.
Yeah.
However,
you feel awkward.
Really
you think, I can't do that.
Yeah. But it really does lift our spirits. It's so important. So,
and it's that mirror. It's that mirroring as well, because you'll, in a train, someone starts to giggle or laugh, you'll automatically eventually do. Initially, everyone's just going, oh my God, but eventually you'll join in. I get great delight listening to one of my little granddaughters watching her cartoons, She obviously understands what she's watching because she giggles at them. And I go, oh, it's so cute. She's not just looking aimlessly at the TV. She's actually involved in the story. And another thing with laughter, there was a situation, a girlfriend and I did a keynote presentation at a disability workers conference a couple of years ago. And we used, one of the clips we used was, because it was all about self-care and nurturing and how to pick your energy up and things like that, especially in the disability support region. And we used the clip of the, again, you can Google this, Google Russian man laughing on a train. That's all you've got to put in the YouTube area. And it's this man that just randomly gets on trains and he does that deep belly laugh that everyone goes, oh my God, how embarrassing, you know. But eventually the whole carriage is laughing. And while they're all laughing, he gets off and gets on another train and you see him do the whole thing starting again. It's the funniest thing. And it's so conducive to being connected to it. It's a really, really good clip. So, I mean, that's what I mean. The universe provides all these things that we can get. And if you can't find it, let me know, because usually you just put Russian man laughing on a train and it comes up.
Beautiful. See, another thing we might have on our list of 10 things is comedy. So have a joke book or a favorite comedy show that you can see. As you say, YouTube. We're so fortunate.
Especially, and it'll be unique to you, because what you might find funny, someone else doesn't. Yes. I often will have a pet on there as well. So do you need to pat a pet, or do you need to go somewhere you can see some pets, or do you just need to Google pets? You know, patting a kitten. Because I reckon there's one of those de-stress things where it's can't remember the name, where they, instead of giving them tablets, they put them into a cuddle shop where they've got a cuddle kitten. So, you know, that's the de-stress chamber is a kitten cuddle. So, and, you know, they exist. I was talking to my daughter-in-law the other day and she was telling me about a place in outside in Sanford where you can actually book to cuddle border collie puppies. So they have, it's a breeding place, but they have certain times of the year where you can pay to have a morning tea where you get to cuddle a border collie puppy. You don't have to have the responsibility of them forever. So, you know, there's cat cafes, cat cuddle cafes. There's all sorts of things.
See, isn't it wonderful how creative we are and can be? Because I know, like years ago, we didn't have pets in retirement villages. No. Sometimes it's a no-no. And yet it's so important. I know a friend of mine takes her dog into aged care facility. Yeah, for visits.
I've even seen clips of on, you know, like YouTube memories and stuff on your different Facebook pages where they show there was a horse was a what do you call those dogs? Service animal.
Oh,
so this lady would take a horse. So it was obviously a very well-trained horse. Yes. And she would take it in, and it was especially relevant to areas where people might have come from farms or country community, and that was the connection, you know, and you just sit there and you watch them, you know, the old lady get the horse, and the horse is so gentle with them, and it's just, you know, there's such beauty and joy in the world. But we do need to sometimes look for it. It's not going to always be in your face. So sometimes you need to get your own joyometer working. What can you do to give yourself some joy and happiness? Find something, find a small skerrick and give yourself permission to let that small drip go into the bucket, because another small drip will follow, and eventually your joy bucket will start to fill up. And name your joy bucket. Have a physical thing that you can put pieces of paper into, or something that starts to fill it, a bit like the gratitude jar, but make it your joy jar. So step back and say, at the end of the day, what's one thing that gave me a moment of joy? Be honest about it and put that one thing in the bucket. And the next day go, was there another thing? Is there two things maybe? And don't look for the big, it's not always a big thing. Sometimes it's as simple as you did see, I don't know, a pretty bird in a tree. You know, and that moment of joy is enough to warrant putting it into the bucket.
And also, we can bring joy to other people. Reach out to someone we haven't spoken to for a while, or
send them
we
a
might
card.
have seen a person around. Check on a neighbour, or very simple things. As you say, Marnie, it doesn't have to be huge.
It's not huge. It's generally not the huge things that make the difference. It's those small drips. And look, you watch some people. If people experience Facebook, I mean, I love it personally, but some people don't. But on Facebook, you see a lot of people saying how wonderful everything is. Just step back from that and know that that's the bit they're showing the world. There's all these other bits behind it. So don't expect it always to be that way. Sometimes it's real. You've got to be real about life, all right? And sometimes there's dips and troughs, and that's okay. So don't think everyone is having the best time ever, because they're not. What they're doing is they're showing the bits of the best time that's relevant to what they're doing in either their business or their home life. And not everyone wants to burden or to highlight the negatives, but they'll highlight the positives, and that's good sometimes as well. Right. And I get envelopes of happiness from a certain Annette McCoy in the letterbox. So I get little parcels. Oh, here's another one. I've got some nice photos again, or a beautiful little card that comes with it, and it's such a beautiful thing to receive. And I always get a little skip when I'm going back to the house to open to see what you've put in it.
Oh dear. See, that brings me joy. I delight in being able to pass things on. And that can be simple too. Yesterday I found very, very cheap carrots, like 3 bags of carrots for $1. So I went, oh wow, I can share these. And it's wonderful. My mother lives in a village, and she has people who are dropping her lovely homemade soup every so often. And so I said, oh well, here you are.
Make some carrot soup.
That they can make some more. But little simple things, if we find that we have too much for ourselves, well, share. We never know how other people are responding.
And you don't realise until someone asks that someone might find something useful as well. That's why it's sometimes nice when you see from groups and things, you see people saying, oh, look, I have a need for this. And it's really good. It's like that company Give It that Juliet Wright created many years ago. It was around the time of the 2011 floods, I think. And she realised she had a lot of good children's clothing that she didn't know what to do with, but she thought they were too good to just not do something with. So she started a share page, and it's grown exponentially, and now it's used by all the disaster relief places as well, because people will say, well, I need this, and someone else will say, well, I have that, and you can have it. So there's like a give and take on it. So you have the positives and the people who want things and the people who would like to give things.
Yes.
And that way they're getting what they're wanting as well. So a lot of the charities will go on and say, well, we have a need of this, and that's what they get given, rather than being given a whole heap of things they don't need.
Yes. I noticed that very much so when we had the bushfires here a couple of years ago, and the people who were collecting were saying, this is what we need. And I think that's really important.
Because everyone wants to do something, but you don't always know what you can do. And each little thing can be useful so long as it's relevant.
Yeah. Very, very, very good point, Marnie. Well, I hope.
How's your joy going? Annette, is your joy picked up?
Look, I keep saying I live a charmed existence.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. There's balance, there's joy. Oh, yes. And I make sure that there is joy in every day. Isn't it wonderful when we can look forward? A new day. And
what's happening? What have I forgotten from yesterday?
Well, I must admit, I have to have a list, especially at the moment, because I'm really I love watching the tennis. And of course, from Wimbledon, I could be doing all-nighters at the moment, and they're close, I tell you. never mind. I'm very grateful that I'm able to do that. And
I have a list as well, and then I forget to look at the list. I go, damn, or something happens and you end up having to do something else, and you go,
yes.
oh, something was happening, and I even thought today, I thought, yeah, there was something happening that I was supposed to look at, and when I looked at it, it was yesterday, and I went, oh, really? Never mind. Oops. It was more of an information thing, but yeah.
I do find though, Marnie, that I do things when I need to. Sometimes, something will slip my mind, but fortunately, it's never something that was urgent. I tend to trust that I get the prods if it's something urgent.
Well, I have a physical diary, I have a desk diary, and then I have a diary up here as well. And I find I sometimes forget to update one or the other. So, and then working in with shift workers now, you're sort of having to try and get your head around what their shift is as well, just in case you're required. So, yeah. But our big excitement, so by the next show, I'm pretty sure by the next show, I'll have a look at our August. Yes, by the next show, our daughter should have had her wedding. Woo! So I'll be able to share some lovely memories from her wedding. Fingers crossed that COVID doesn't stick into it.
Yeah.
So that's part of our anxiety challenge at the moment, is to try and park that concept, but to go, okay, well, if something happens, what are our contingency plans?
Right. Yes. And we need our thoughts create our reality. So it's really important.
Sometimes need to address those thoughts because they keep coming up, and you need to sort of say, okay, well, thank you for that reminder, but I'm needing to also create this and go towards it positively. That's what we're doing at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a great believer that everything happens like as it should. It mightn't be as we expect it to.
Yeah.
But it's perfect. So if there's a glitch, there's a very good reason for it.
Yeah, it's just, I agree with that to a degree, but I also know the preparation that's gone into this. So let's hope we're having people drop like flies at the moment because of the fear. It's not just, they're not so much fearful of COVID, they're fearful of getting stuck, with all the borders closing. If the borders weren't closing, there wouldn't have been the challenge. But you worry, well, what if they do a snap border close? What happens then? Like, how do I get home? Kind of
exactly. Thing. And it's I know lots of weddings, lots of special celebrations are put on hold at the moment, or people aren't able to get to something that they would have taken for granted. We save the date. Not a problem. I'll be
exactly. There. Yeah, sure. When closer and closer we're getting there, we're going, oh, goodness me. But anyhow, so next show I'll be able to tell you all about the wedding.
Fantastic. All right. Well, very exciting time for you, Marnie.
Certainly is.
I wonder what the excitement is in your life. Find it, create it.
Look for joy. Remember, essential oils, flowers, remedies, people, food. There's all sorts of things you can use. And if you're really stuck, let me know, or let Annette know, and we'll get a message to you.
Absolutely. Thank you all very, very much for being here. Marnie, a special thanks to you.
Thanks, darling. Thanks.
My joyometer.
Tolerance is another thing that goes into your joy bucket. You're very tolerant.
It's a learning process, believe me. Yeah. All right, may we all be smiling, and thank you for joining us. And please, everybody, reach out to Angel Heart Radio. That's a great source of
inspiration.
Yes, information, encouragement, joy. Anaya's middle name is Joy.
And certainly
she spreads it. So
she's inspirational.
Absolutely, yes. So let us all take a leaf and enjoy life.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, especially Belinda, for your special comments. Much appreciated. Bye for now.
Bye.